all the time, you know, and my body doesn't get any time to recover before I'm running like a friggin' crazy person again at work. I mean, I like my job a lot and the people I'm with, but, you know, I
Okay,
need to
all
take
right.
it for safe.
Okay, sweetie. Hold on. We're going to go ahead and start it now. It,
Okay.
this is all just,
All the time, you know, and my body doesn't get any time to recover before.
okay, there we go. All right. Of course, now I'm not understanding why this music is not playing.
Okay.
Jeez. All right, anyway, you know what? Screw it. I don't really care about the music. Um, although it should be playing. Whatever. I don't really care. Now the music doesn't play. I hate all this video crap. But anyway, so welcome to the revolution. I am EJ, and filling in for Pete is the lovely Bree, and we already have the other lovely Michelle on. And tonight we're going to be talking definitely about this net neutrality bullcrap that's going on. Um, they're going to be voting on it. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's really bad, and it's not being voted by Congress. It's coming down to a vote from uh, the FCC. Now, these are appointed people in the FCC, and it's going to come down to five members of the FCC that are going to vote for it, and two of which are quote unquote conservative, and three are quote unquote liberal. They're probably all a bunch of socialists, just varying degrees of. And so it's looking like they're probably going to pass this net neutrality, which is really bad for really any one of us, to varying degrees. Uh, what do you guys know about net neutrality?
Um,
Am
isn't
I,
it something to do with like peer-to-peer communications and slowing down
well,
intense?
it deals with anything online. What they're trying to do is, you
They
remember,
want to tier it. They want to have different levels of access available to people
Yeah.
depending upon, you know, like premium access versus regular access. So then the regular guy who isn't paying, you know, to have his website hosted or whatever, you know, now he's going to have to pay if he wants, you know, the traffic to flow faster. Just the size of
well,
the pipeline.
that's one. That's one. Now, there's a lot of
It's
aspects
also
to.
blocking that could take place as well, right?
Yeah, there's so many different aspects to this. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, I don't know if you guys heard about the Comcast deal that they struck up with Netflix. Um, Over 30% of all traffic on Comcast. Now, Comcast is a piece of crap company. I'm not going to defend them, but over 30% of their traffic, of their internet usage, was being monopolized by Netflix. People, doing the streaming video and stuff like that. So Netflix took them to court, uh, because they were saying, well, you need to pay us extra money because, or not Netflix, Comcast took Netflix to court saying, because of you guys, you're using up all our bandwidth. They came to an agreement. I think it was something like per year, Comcast or Netflix would pay Comcast something like $11 million, something like that. Now, that's what they're kind of focusing on with this net. They're focusing on two aspects of net neutrality. One is they're saying, oh, there's not going to be favoritism amongst your carriers and stuff like that, because that's what they're using as an example, saying, oh, look, Comcast started bullying around Netflix, which then other companies might follow suit. Uh, so that's one thing that they're doing. They're trying to say, oh, well, we can basically tell companies like Comcast, hey, suck it. You don't have anything, you can't really decide, what services get what, that kind of stuff. The other thing that they're trying to, convince people of that it's a good thing is they're talking about people that don't have internet access right now, like the people that are live in rural areas. They're talking about, hey, look, we'll be able to get you internet. So it's the interesting thing is that they could do this anyway. It's kind of like if you look at Obamacare, they could do that. They could do all that anyway. They could have made the pre-existing conditions, because a lot of people agree with that. They're like, why should I feel trapped in a job? Because all of a sudden I've got some condition that I didn't have before. Now I got to stay with this job because if I switch over, I can't be insured. A lot of people felt that was unfair on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't matter political leanings. We didn't need a monstrosity like Obamacare to rectify that one problem, and that's what they're trying to do with this. Now, part of net neutrality is also they can try to have balance. Um, if, for example, if you have a conservative show on, they can say, well, if there's going to be a conservative show, there's got to be a liberal show. And if there's a, say, Christian show on, well, there's got to be a Muslim show and an atheist show. And hell, why not put a Satanist show in there? So it's all about quote unquote fairness. And what do we find behind the word fairness? We always find socialism, right? It's always the root thing. They all want fairness, whether whatever it may be, economic
Heavy
fairness.
regulation.
What's that?
Heavy regulation.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, who's going to enforce the quote unquote fairness? The government. So they have to have all sorts of heavy regulation. So there's that. Then there's all I've got to say is what they're trying to basically do. They're trying to add the internet into the 1934 Telecommunications Act. 1934. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to apply the rules of the 1934 Telecommunications Act, which brought us things like, Ma Bell, the monopoly, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's what they're trying to apply. They're trying to apply those same rules. They're actually trying to bring the internet. What they're trying to do is redefine it as a telecommunication. And they're trying to bring it so then once they redefine it as a telecommunication, they can now bring it in under the umbrella of the Telecommunication Act of 1934. Hold on one second. I had to tell my kids to be quiet. This is the joy of trying to do a show and having children in the other room. So anyway, but so that's really what it is in a nutshell. So so now the government is going to have control over all sorts of stuff. Now, let's say, okay, let's look at the IRS. Does the government use the IRS as an intimidation factor? Obviously. I mean, that's been proven. I mean, even before the attacks on conservative people with the IRS has been used since the IRS has been about. Whether you're a gangster or whatever the case may be, speak out against the government, you'll probably get an audit. They'll find that you've done something wrong, and then they make your life hell. So we can't trust the government because of the IRS and various other things. I mean, we don't even need to talk about all the times that they've deliberately poisoned people. If you don't believe me, look up St. Louis and radioactive isotopes being pumped into the air. That was a government experiment. But don't worry, it was just on black people, poor black people. So it doesn't really matter. That's how they saw it. So anyway, so we know that government can't be trusted. And now we're going to give them more power, and then we're going to give them power over one of the things in which we believe we have freedom of speech. It's almost counterintuitive if you think about it, because the government loves to listen to us. I mean, we know that from Edward Snowden. We knew that, a lot of us knew that before Edward Snowden, but it was proven once Edward Snowden came out and released all the documents. They love to spy on us. Well, if you limit our access and you limit to what we can say on the internet, you can't spy on us as much. Then we start going underground. So there might be a silver lining to all this. Because right now, the NSA is checking in on us, and, they're wishing that I actually had my cameras actually rolling because I have two women with me on the show instead of just me. But that's the thing. It's I don't know. It's probably going to pass. It's probably going to go through. And keep in mind, it's not. These aren't representatives. I mean, and I do encourage people. Contact your representative. I'm going to. I was waiting until after the show, but I'm going to contact my representative. But this isn't coming down. This is going to be like an after effect kind of thing, because this isn't coming up for a vote in Congress. This is coming up as a vote amongst 5 people that were appointed. So this isn't even representative at all.
Yeah.
So
in the end, it's really just about control. I mean, if we tear away everything else, I mean, even when you're describing it, it just sounds like there's a bunch of guys sitting around with a whole lot of time on their hands and nothing to do, just saying, how can we control the people more? How can we make more regulations and more rules?
Yep.
And this is all the government does. Whether they're on the left or on the right, it's the only thing that's been going on in our government for years and years. And that's why it's the monstrosity that it is now.
Yep. Well, government has to justify its existence. I mean, it's got to at least be able to say, hey, look, we do something. And it's kind of like construction companies that are paid by the government to build roads. They'll go out and say, yeah, this road needs to be repaired. It doesn't really need to be repaired, but that's their justification so they can get more money. And the government's the same way. That if they showed you how little they actually really did. I mean, can you imagine it? If the Department of Commerce went away, or the Department of Education went away, or the EPA went away, if all these agencies went away, would we really even notice?
We would in our pocketbook.
Well, they'd find another way, but I mean, would we notice? I mean, would it be like, holy crap, the water's off? Holy crap, the sun didn't rise. We wouldn't even notice. But they'll tell you they're really important. They'll tell you, well, without the EPA, you guys would be choking on the air. Meanwhile, they're spraying, chemicals in the air with their chemtrails. But, they'll tell you, the EPA is a joke anyway. And the EPA they use that as an attack dog as well. The EPA, they can't get around. I'll give 2 examples. One. With firearms. And we said this a long, long time ago. We said they're not going to go after the firearms. It's political suicide. They're going to go after the ammunition. And we gave different scenarios. One of the scenarios we gave was they're going to use the EPA to try to say, well, bullets are harmful or something. They're going to do something like that. And that's exactly what they did. They said the lead in the bullets is harmful, and it's getting shot into places, and animals and ducks and stuff are eating that. So we have to get rid of all the ammunition. We have to change it, and then it makes it more expensive. That's one of the things they did. Another example is, what was it? It was Gibson Guitar. Gibson Guitar, the owner of Gibson Guitar, is a Republican. And he donated to, I think this was in 2000, during Obama's first campaign. He donated to the Republican Party, and after Obama won, shortly thereafter, now keep in mind, Valerie Jarrett actually said, we're going to punish our enemies. We're going to reward the people that support us, and we're going to punish our enemies. That's that's really good, precedent to set. But anyway, so the EPA comes into Gibson Guitar and says the fretboards that you're using are of an endangered species of tree from India. And you cannot use that, you cannot import that wood and have it manufactured here. Two problems with that. One, they said if you get it manufactured in India with like all the inlays and everything to the fretboards and then just put them on a guitar, that's okay. Knowing that that would cost the people that worked at Gibson, that would cost a bunch of people their jobs, because that's what their job is working the fretboards. The other thing was there was another company that donated to Obama's campaign. They got a warning. Now, Gibson Guitar actually had a SWAT team show up, shut them down until they figured out this fretboard issue. And then of course they said, well, what about this other company? They donated Democrat to you, and nothing happened to them. So in reply, that they got a verbal warning, or they got a written warning saying, hey, look, you guys should stop doing this, but nothing was ever done. So, hold on one second. Be quiet. So, anyway, so it's very apparent that the government does use various agencies at its disposal to intimidate and bully. I mean, hell, they'll even send. Who's the guy? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's the black guy that looks like a bulldog. He's Elijah Cummings. He was a guy that marched with Martin Luther King. He was a civil rights hero. Well, now he's become just an absolute thug, because he'll actually show up at your door if you speak out against the government and anything that he has any kind of ties to. He might show up at your door. He's done it before to try to coerce you to shut the hell up. I would actually enjoy that if he showed up at my door and tried to threaten me, because then I would have to be found. I would probably be tried by a jury of 12. You ladies are awfully quiet tonight.
Well, we're listening to you.
Oh.
We're
Well,
obedient.
You're obedient.
I think this whole net neutrality thing is just another power grab, and I think they're going to get in there and take even more than they plan to take. So it's going to be like post 9/11. Give an inch, they'll take a mile.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's exactly what it is. And you won't see it right away. I mean, you won't see you won't see them like really clamp down. They'll wait till it's firmly entrenched, and then they'll just say. And then it'll be inch by inch. It might be, who knows, it might be our show gets kind of shut down. Well, there's nobody to counter your show. So in fairness, we need to shut you down. Or they'll say, well, you're reaching out to a certain amount of people, so we need to make you pay. That's another thing that they'll do. They'll have you pay. If you use a certain amount of bandwidth, they may make you pay more. And that's one of the things they're talking about. That is another thing, just to let people know. I mean, net neutrality is going to really screw you. If you happen to like watching videos online, or as far as me going with this, I do the show online. They're going to say, well, you have to pay for your usage. But the free market's already decided, you sacks of shit, on what it wants. The free market says, hey, look. If you want to pay for like faster bandwidth, go ahead. You can pay more. Like I pay for the highest amount of bandwidth, and I pay about $100 a month, $80, $100 a month for it. But I have super fast internet, But I pay for it, and I'm okay with that. They don't want that. They want to have everybody have the same access. Now I'm going to take a wild guess, just a wild guess. I don't think that that bandwidth is going to be as fast as what I pay the extra money for. When everybody's equal, I think there's going to be a common ground they're going to reach. And it'll probably be half the speeds that I get now. But judging by what happened with Ma Bell, judging by what happened with them, I'm going to take a guess and say that the service is going to suck, but I'm going to wind up paying a shit ton more. So I'll probably still pay $100, but my service will be half. And on top of that, if I want to use more bandwidth, I'm going to have to pay an extra fee on top of that.
Yeah, just another way to get into our pocketbooks. I mean, most of us already pay for data on our phone and ridiculous taxes. And what's a cell phone charge so poor people can have cell phones? And I mean, that'll probably be on the internet now. We'll probably get that charge for the internet.
Oh,
the people
yeah.
who can't afford the internet can afford internet.
Absolutely. That's all this is. That's all this is. All we have is, I mean, we're getting pushed closer and closer and closer to socialism. I was talking with, I was out at dinner with my family last night, and there was two older couples that were there, and I heard them say something about the FCC, and I was like, you wouldn't happen to be talking about net neutrality, would you? And they were like, yeah, actually, we just started talking about that. And they were of more of a political mindset as that we all are. Smaller government, get the hell out of my business and stuff like that. Now, and I asked them, I said, well, who's the problem? What is the real problem? And they said, well, and the one guy said, I would blame the Republicans, because the Republicans are supposed to, be, basically they say that they're for this, but they don't really do it. They're for smaller government, but they keep increasing the size. In a nutshell, that's kind of what he was saying. And I mean, in a way, yeah, he's right. But look, at what point, and I told him, I said, look, the founding fathers gave us a great tool to deal with this, and it's called the Second Amendment. That's what it's for. Excuse me, 1 second. You two talk amongst yourself, please.
How are you, Michelle?
I'm doing good, Bree. Give me 1 second. My dinner just came, so
Sure.
my mouth is full. No, but you know what? He does make a good point as far as the socialism is concerned, because this is blatant socialism. Whoever said that life is fair? It's all about fairness, fairness, fairness. I mean,
of course it is. Yeah. But the thing is, nobody knows. I mean, it's creeping into our country little by little, and before we know it, we'll be all the way there, and people are going to turn around and say, how'd that happen?
Well, you know what? You have a really good point, but I think that it's happening at a faster rate now than what it was before. I mean, we've been moving slowly towards socialism for decades upon decades. Look at all the horrible policies of FDR that never got repealed in any way, and they've just been continued to be built upon and built upon. That was kind of a fast track time in our history, and now with Obama, we're having another one of those fast track, headlong into socialism periods. And what history shows us and all of that is that, we're not going to reverse it, not unless we do actually go ahead and use our Second Amendment.
But why aren't people up in arms about this? Why, everyone seems to be just sort of taking it lying down, really. I mean, most people just, I don't know what it is, do they not have it in them? Do they not care anymore? Do they think that they can't win against the government? Or it seems like a lot of people have given up the fight.
Well, it's also like EJ said, it's not even like it's going to Congress for a vote. It's 5 people that are voting on this. So at this point, the power was taken away from the people. And if we're going to protest the fact that the power is taken away from us on this issue, well, heck, we need to be doing that over a whole lot of other issues and encroachments that the government has been making with impunity.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm afraid that it won't be good. So
Nothing that comes out of government is good, at least not our government, not in a long time.
No, no, no. What do you think is going to happen in the next election? Do you think the Republicans will get in?
I don't know that we're going to have a next election, Bree. I think that everything is going to be done to get us to a point that we're at martial law and that elections are going to be suspended. So right now I see everybody. What's that?
Do you think that'll happen by next year?
I think it'll happen before 2016. Yeah. I think, that's why I find it funny. Everybody's talking about this one for president, that one for president. I'd be shocked if there's actually an election in the next cycle.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. Go ahead, AJ.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Do you know why? Because I think they've got a real ace with Elizabeth Warren. And if you think Obama's bad, Elizabeth Warren is even worse. I mean, we're just going they're just pushing that socialist agenda, and I think they feel pretty confident with Elizabeth Warren. They know that. I mean, look, there's not a chance in hell. I mean, there was really, literally, historically speaking, not a chance in hell Obama would have won re-election. But he did. Now, granted, yes, the Republicans put a milquetoasty guy and they put basically Obama light in it to challenge him. But, I mean, if you look at like George W. Bush, there wasn't, everybody's like Obama crushed, McCain. It wouldn't have mattered who they put up against him. The only person that might have made a difference would have been somebody that had criticized Bush from the very get-go. But I don't even think that would have happened. They just would have said, no more Republican, because things are so screwed up. And that should have been the case after Obama, because Obama was the lowest ranking president going into a re-election. I think he was the lowest ranking president going into re-election in history. And he won. And nobody had ever, he had lower rankings than so many other people that had lost a re-election campaign, and he still won. So I think that
I don't think he did. I honestly believe that there was a lot of fraud, and not just because of everything that you see online or this, that, or whatever, but because of the very nature of where I live here in Key West. We get tourists from all over the world, and they're not necessarily politically active. But right before that election cycle, during Fantasy Fest, never in my life did I see so many people not just making political statements, but pro-Republican statements. I mean, one girl was body painted with Republican elephants over her boobs, and it said Romney on her back. And another woman went across the street to Wendy's and bought 20 cheeseburgers and started handing them out and telling them, vote for Romney. And in the 10 years that I've been here, I have never in my life seen anything like that. And so I knew Romney was going to win. I mean, I knew Obama was going to win the first time from talking to these same people, 8 years ago or 6 years ago. So,
well, actually, you just proved my point, though. You just proved my point. There is no chance in hell that Obama should have won re-election.
Right.
There's no chance in hell, but he did, rather convincingly, and he did. So that's my point. They can look back and say, wow, Obama won. We have enough people with their hands sticking out, waiting for their monthly checks. And we've been successful in taking away accountability from people that we can really do whatever we want. We're going to win. And now you've got a woman that's probably going to, it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. That's who it's going to be. I personally think Hillary is just
Pocahontas.
Yeah, Pocahontas. Yeah. Yes. I personally think that that Hillary has too much baggage, and I think it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. But she is going to. They feel as though whether or not she wins or not, I think they feel she's an absolute shoo-in. Because, just like I said, there's no reason Obama should be, in the White House right now. It's ridiculous. But she is. I said she, thinking of Barack Obama as a woman. um, which I think he might
But
be.
you want to know what? Here's the other thing too. Let's look at the other side. Let's look at the Republicans, for example. They're going to want to run Jeb Bush. Okay, and on the one hand, you have the Clinton, you have the Bush thing. We're in an oligarchy. Okay, we don't get to choose who's running. We don't get to choose who the president's going to be. They decide between two people that you know what I mean, that neither of us want, and they give us a choice between their two choices. So I don't see where the choice is for us at all.
Well,
Who wanted Romney to get the nomination? Come on, he was like in last place. There were 10 other guys up there that were better than Romney for winning the nomination.
yeah, Ron Paul.
Well,
But yeah, it's stupid Facebook. Um, but yeah, I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. Mitt Romney was selected. Um, Mitt Romney was selected. The campaign was fraudulent. It was anybody that started getting more votes. It happened the entire primary campaign with Ron Paul. And even though I hate the guy, like with a passion, hate the guy,
Rick Santorum.
Santorum. That they were stealing votes from Santorum with their rigging of the election machines. The computers that
Yep.
do the election machines. So I mean, and nobody, the RNC, nobody said, hey, wait, this isn't, we got to look into this. They just covered it up. No, 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 nothing's wrong, because they got who they wanted. So yes, you're right. I mean, they picked the milk toastiest guy, and I definitely say they picked the milk toastiest guy they could have got. But still, regardless, look, the Democrats and Republicans, they read their own press. If a bunch of people get around and say, you guys are great, we love what you're doing, they think everybody loves what they're doing. They think they're better than sliced bread. So I think the Democrats. That's why I'm saying. I mean, just to counter what you were saying about them suspending elections, I don't see them suspending elections because I think they have a really good shot. I mean, I think they have a good shot. And they shouldn't. They absolutely shouldn't. But I think they do.
I don't think Obama and Jarrett and company are going to want to leave power.
Well,
I truly do not.
Put it this way. That's another reason why I think Hillary Clinton's not going to be in there, because the Clintons and Obamas despise each other.
This is true.
They hate each other. Basically, if Elizabeth Warren gets in, it really is like Elizabeth Warren and Barack Obama. They probably have sex, and and Warren probably puts the big old strap on and just nails Barry right in the ass. But yeah, they have a love affair, whereas the Clintons hate the Clintons hate each other too, but
Yeah, no doubt.
the Clinton camp and the Obama camp are not allies. They really aren't. So so Obama will still have power. So yeah.
Well, Valerie Jarrett, you mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no, you're absolutely right. I mean, Valerie Jarrett calls the shots. Hey, I got something. The speaking of net neutrality. Here we go. This is off of the Washington Examiner. Liberal philanthropist, if that's what you want to call him, George Soros, and the Ford Foundation have lavish groups supporting the administration's net neutrality agenda, donating $196 million and landing proponents on the White House staff, according to a new report. And now, as the Federal Communications Commission nears approving a type of government control over the internet, the groups are poised to declare victory in the years-long fight, according to the report from MRC Business, an arm of the conservative media watchdog, the Media Research Center. The Ford Foundation, which claims to be the second largest private foundation in the U.S., and Open Society Foundations founded by far-left billionaire George Soros, have given more than 196 million to pro-net neutrality groups between 2000 and 2013. You know what? I don't even need to say one goddamn thing more about this. If George Soros is funding it, it's bad for us. It's as simple as that. I'm not kidding. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's funny because sometimes, like, let's say Bernie Sanders. Okay, Bernie Sanders, he's an avowed socialist. He's a senator from Vermont. Sometimes he says things. I mean, at least points out a problem that I agree with. I may not agree with his solution. He wants to audit the Fed, just like Ron Paul wants to audit the Fed. Bernie Sanders wants to audit the Fed. Now, they want to audit the Fed for different reasons, but they both believe that there's absolute corruption and waste and fraud going on at the Federal Reserve. So they want to audit it. Okay, now, Ron Paul would like to abolish the Fed and replace it with nothing, because he doesn't want to have a centralized bank, whereas Bernie Sanders would just like to go in and take more control over it. That's where everything kind of divides, because Bernie Sanders would be like, hey, look, well, we need a central government because that's one of the cornerstones. Or a central bank, that's one of the cornerstones of communism or socialism. But we need more government control. That's why he wants it. But I can at least agree with kind of like, what he's, him looking into it. But on the same token, George Soros, anything he supports, I'm against. I mean, if he said that lollipop a day was really good for you, I'd be against it. For some damn reason, I would know something was up. I'd be like, what are they, poisonous?
No, you're absolutely right. Anything with his name attached to it has a big warning flag next to it. If you consider everything he's done from the time he was a young boy, in Nazi Germany, being a Jew himself and getting pleasure out of it and feeling the power, and getting off on killing his own people.
He is an evil man.
Yeah, but why don't people care? This stuff's out there. This information's out there. I mean, are we
because they're watching football and playing online.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bree, is there like a Dancing with the Stars on right now, or American Idol, or The Voice?
Well, that's my point. I mean, we're going to go down with the sinking ship because the country's full of diptards.
Yeah, you could. You know what? You can say fucktards if you want. I don't really care. I don't really care. We're gonna push it. We're gonna on our last night of the free internet. We're gonna push this. So fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm almost at the point where it's like, why even bother? I mean, I don't see a difference between Republicans and Democrats anymore. I really don't. Everyone's in everyone's pocket.
Yeah, there isn't a difference.
And the ones who are different, whether it be libertarians or independent party or revolutionary party or whoever, or, they're never going to get in because of, it's all about money and, control and lobbyists and, everything's so backhanded. It's just, I don't see anything changing. I only see it getting worse.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're at the point now where it's how do you work within the system that we're going to end up with or that we have now? How do you tweak it? How do you bend it? How do you, get the most out of it? It's going to have to get to a point where you've got to use the system to your advantage. Because it's,
the system just needs to go away. There's no using to your advantage anymore. It's too big. It's too much of a mess. The only option at this point is to get rid of all of it.
And get around things, You're not going to totally be able to maybe break them or, but there's always a way to push things and bend the rules and get around things.
Yeah, our government does it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think people are going to have to, we may see more community type living springing up over the next 20 or 30 years or so because of this.
But like you said, Bree, the majority of the people are apathetic. You know what I mean? They're not paying attention to anything except their phones, except the football and Dancing with the Stars. And until their cable gets cut or the internet gets cut off or something like that happens, they're not going to pay attention. And you know what's going to happen when something like that does happen? They're going to riot. They're going to be like animals in the street. You know what I mean? And this is what's going to end up happening. And that's what's going to bring martial law, and that's what's going to suspend the elections. I see it all happening before 2016.
I don't know if I see it happening before that. That's like, what, 10 months away?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see. I gotta say, I mean, I don't. I don't know. I don't see it happening.
I think keep their little circus going for a long time. The politicians. We all know our vote doesn't really count now as it is, so, it's just smoke and mirrors, so what's the difference? It's
but
kind of that way.
It's not just about our government. It's about the value of the dollar. It's about the petrol dollar. It's about, we're being squeezed in so many different ways. And it's not just here. The whole world is unstable right now. Look at what's going on with Greece and the far leftist party that was elected because they're tired of the austerity that was placed upon them by the EU. You know what I mean? Nobody's operating with any real money. Nothing is gold backed. Anytime someone tries to come out with a currency that actually has some sort of backing to it, well, they do away with them, just like we did Gaddafi. You know what I mean? The people that are in control, it's not our government, it's not someone else's government. There's a different order of people that are ruling the world right now, and they're causing this instability for a reason, because they want another world war brought on. And this is what we're moving toward.
This martial law and all this is already kind of there. We're just fed this sort of false sense of that we're in control, we have a democracy, or, whatever.
Republican is what it's supposed to be.
It's just pacify us, but those things are already happening here.
Nope, absolutely. But, it's also, like you said, it's happening slow enough that it's like a frog boiling in a pot. Nobody's going to know what's going on until it's too late. Right now we're the fringe people. We're crazy and we don't know what we're talking about simply because we're informed rather than watching Dancing with the Stars. There are a lot of people who are going to be in for a really rude awakening, and I predict it's going to happen, within the next 2 years, Bree.
I think a lot of people feel disenfranchised. They just don't know what to do about it or how they can, make a difference. That's the thing. It's kind of funny with the internet and everything that, you'd think more people would be connecting and getting together and there'd be, more empowerment, but maybe there will be eventually. Maybe this is, this whole thing coming down with the internet is, going to put a little bit of a stop to that as well. So we shall see.
But not only that, with all of quantitative easing going on and everything else, we're going to soon see a rate of inflation that's unprecedented. The dollar is not going to be able to stay supported at the rate we are going for very much longer. Within 6 months to a year, at the rate we're going, our dollar is going to collapse.
Well, I've read about a major stock market crash coming this year. I don't.
Yeah, see, now that I could totally buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard something about that. So, and I can believe that. So, like you said. So.
I don't know. I just personally see it as a game of chess. You know what I mean? Like all the pieces are being moved around in a certain way, and then all of a sudden everything's going to fall into place all at once and come to a head, and there's just going to be chaos, not just here, but throughout the entire world.
They'll use a war. They will use a war or natural disaster, just like they did 9/11, to get in there and power grab. We're going to have some sort of a major thing come down for them to get in there as an excuse to power grab, and that's when they power grab. Every time
Let me tell you something. If Putin declares war on Ukraine, there's your reason right there, because they all of a sudden become our enemy and will be at war with Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all that. I mean, there's a lot of things right now. I mean, to watch right now. To some degree, I agree with you that, there's, it's kind of a house of cards right now, and everything's very unstable, and there's a lot of different things. Netanyahu's getting pretty, he's getting out there making a lot of statements, and, so everything's pretty unstable out there.
It is.
It's going to be curious to see what happens over the next few months, so we shall see. But anyhow, they, what's he telling Jews to come back to Israel?
Yeah,
Mhm.
throughout like Europe and
Yeah.
because there's a lot of anti-Semitism going on, and
Isn't that funny when they're Jews? What is a lot of rich Jews and Jews in power? Yet you have that going on. I mean, it all seems strange that they're getting picked on and not the, you know, Muslims or terrorists.
well,
or
people
whatever.
well
Kind of
people
funny.
people need scapegoats. I mean,
Yeah.
they always need a scapegoat, and I gotta say, I mean, I'm sure it's more complex than this, but if okay, let's say I need to make a scapegoat. Okay, and I know Bree, you're just a sweet person who wouldn't harm a fly, and I know Michelle is a psychopath who will slash your tires and put your rabbit in a boiling pot of water.
Oh
Um,
boy.
guess who I'm gonna pick as my scapegoat? It's gonna be you, Bree, because
Thanks.
I'm gonna be too afraid to like use Michelle. So and I think that's why they don't focus on Muslims. Muslims will act crazy, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've proven
Oh, look what
that.
they did for the cartoon. Yeah.
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 So you know, as I said, I'm sure it goes deeper. I mean, it's something I mean, it is interesting. I mean, look, the Jews have been hated throughout history for various reasons, you know.
They're used to it.
But the thing is you know, look, because the Jews were smart. As a group of people, most of the Jews were pretty smart, and they did take control of the banks, and they did take control of the money. That's actually true. A lot of Jews are very wealthy. Trust me, I've been to Long Island. Okay, you go through Long Island, there's a very big Jewish population, and when they go to synagogue, it's not some little backwoods church looking thing. You know, it they've got money. Um, but that makes it easy to scapegoat. Here in this country, they're not going after Jews. They just go after the rich in general. You know, so I mean, it's very easy when somebody's having a hardship. And look, that's what happened in World War II, or you know, pre World War II, with the rise of the Nazis. They went and they said, I mean, Germany's depression was made ours look like a cakewalk. Germany's depression was so bad, and the Jews did, you know, they have they had a close knit community, and they would help each other out, but they wouldn't help other people that were non Jews out for the most part, and that goes for this country as well. I mean, you know, even though I'm an atheist, I can at least sit there and say, hey, look, if I got to choose one religion over another, you know, I think Christians, that I see more Christian charities, and I see all sorts of crap with Christianity, but I see more Christian charities than I do Jewish charities or Muslim charities. And the only charities that I see that are Jewish or Muslim are charities for other Jews or other Muslims. And I know somebody could say, "Oh, well, you know, there's, you know, oh, there's Brian writing balls in the chat. Hello, Brian." Um, so, but and I know somebody could come and say, "Oh no, but I know this Jewish charity that helps anybody." Okay, I'm sure they exist, and same thing with a Muslim. But I know that there's plenty of Christian charities that if I went and said, "Look, I don't believe in God," I don't. They would like they'd be like, "Okay, we wish you would, but here we'll help you out anyway." You know, so So when you're like the German people and you're like hungry or you can't make ends meet, you can't even see the ends. Um, when you've got somebody that's going to, when somebody says, "Hey, look, those people are the problem. They've got all the money. They're the reason." You'll buy into it, you know. And if you don't think that the world economy is suffering all over the place, that's why you've got all this anti-Semitism. You've got, and then you got this influx of Muslims in Europe and stuff. But even, as I said, even in this country, we may not be like really anti-Semitic, but we're anti-rich. That's the message people try to get out. Oh, the rich, the rich. And I'm actually somewhat one of those for one reason. If you made your money by influencing Congress with lobbyists, and it was to the detriment of the American people, I consider you have committed treason, and I think you should hang for it, along with the politicians and the lobbyists and all that kind of stuff. Um, I don't begrudge anybody for getting rich beyond their beliefs. Um, Mark Cuban, a lot of people criticize him. They say they say, well, he sold he sold his business. He became a billionaire because he sold his business. At the height of the dot-com bubble. So his company wasn't really worth what was paid for it, and so they looked. Some people look down on him. Why are you going to look down on him? Just because other people are stupid and overpaid? I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with anything right now.
Well, I think it's just, it goes back to there's so many things going on in the world. It just seems like there's a lot of little timber boxes all over the place, and you just wonder which one's going to spark off the big one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you look at Russia, like you two were saying. I mean, Russia is nobody can do anything about Russia.
No,
They can't do anything about. I mean,
badass.
the only thing, the only country that could do anything about Russia would be the United States. And how can we do that when we've got a tutu wearing little bitch in the White House? I mean,
No, he tried to punish him with the oil
uh,
for a while.
the guy he has played in every. I mean, look at Syria. I mean, Obama got played so friggin' bad in Syria. You know, Obama tried to be a tough guy, and then realized, oh crap, I can't do this. I can't be a tough guy. Um, so I'm gonna withdraw my first challenge. And then I'm gonna issue another, and then that got pushed, and he was like, oh crap, what do I do? Now I'm gonna have to commit to going to war in Syria and putting boots on the ground. Well, then Putin comes in and looks like he's rescuing Obama, but really that was all in his own interest anyway. I mean, he knew damn well Obama was not going to put boots on the ground. He wanted to do anything but put boots on the ground in Syria. Putin knew that the whole time. And he just let Obama just keep saying what he was going to do, and he knew he wasn't going to do it. So then when Obama's back was against the wall, and there was a glory hole right behind his ass, so he had a smile. So when he had his back against the wall and glory hole, um, here comes Putin looking like the hero and the peace negotiator. But the fact is, he wanted Assad in there the whole time. He didn't want Assad out of there because Assad is a puppet. So, I mean, Obama, and I don't know.
It just goes to show how out of touch Obama is to think that he can slay someone with his rhetoric. It goes back to I have a pen and a phone. He's in a completely different reality than the rest of us.
Well, the pen and the phone thing actually seems to be working. It seems to have been working pretty well for him. I mean, We'll see.
Well, maybe with the American people, but that's not going to work with, with another country. When you
Oh,
when
yeah.
you want to try and bully them, they need to know that you got to back it up. Everybody knows what Obama is. Everyone knows he's a pansy. They know he's not going to back up anything that he says. They probably recognize him as the narcissist that he is, as do the majority of us, I would hope. And they know he's. It's like watching a clown. Every time he opens up his mouth, everything that he does, and his everything that he does is completely out of touch, not just with the American people, but with the world, and actually with reality itself. I mean, this level of cognitive dissonance is unprecedented.
Well, that is true. I think we were talking about that this weekend. Obama's just, especially foreign policy. I don't think there's been a worse president in the history of this country on foreign policy, because I think the worst. I think the worst was Jimmy Carter,
Agreed.
and I think Jimmy Carter was better on foreign policy. Amazing to me, but I think Jimmy Carter was. I would have to say, actually, not just think, but I would say hands down, Jimmy Carter was better on foreign policy than Barack Obama. He has failed in every aspect. Every aspect. He supported the Arab Spring. Are you aware that Egypt is now trying to prosecute Obama,
Him and Clinton.
as war criminals for aiding terrorists by supporting the Muslim Brotherhood?
Mm-hmm. Now, what makes you think that any of this stuff that he's doing isn't deliberate?
Here's the thing. And Pete has said the same thing. Pete has said, I think he's doing this I think his foreign policy to weaken us globally is intentional. And I don't believe that one bit. Because Obama is an egomaniac. And Obama wants to fundamentally transform the United States into a socialist, communist utopia. That being said, he wants his communist utopia to be the leader of everybody else. That's what he would want. He doesn't really want everybody to share in the kumbaya. He doesn't really want that. And I don't even think an idiot like him can actually believe that the rest of the world is going to play along. That's just not how things work. So I don't buy that he's intentional. I think when it comes to foreign policy, he's just the biggest fucking incompetent moron that's ever sat his fucking dirty ass in the fucking Oval Office.
I think he's inexperienced, and like you said, just doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
I think Valerie Jarrett is very
he's not a
experienced,
badass.
though.
Yeah, but Valerie Jarrett, what is her experience though? Handling.
Well, if you read up on her and read her agenda, she really is promoting the Muslim agenda. She wants to bring Islam to the United States. She wants to see, a Muslim uprising throughout the entire world.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not hard to get a bunch of Muslims all pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
That's
but
not.
They've never been as organized as they are, like now with ISIS and all that's going on. You know what I mean? By causing all those problems in the Middle East and not appearing strong like we needed to, by taking out Saddam Hussein, now this crap with Assad, what went on with Gaddafi has allowed all of these extremist groups to get stronger. Some of them are banding together. Never in our lifetimes have we had, what's going on right now between ISIS, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, this one, that one. There's so many different terror groups. They're all linked into each other in one way or another.
Well, they're linked into each other, but they're
before Obama.
But okay. But here's the thing: he was handed an opportunity on a silver platter with Iraq. Now that wasn't him. He didn't. He had no bearing on us invading Iraq. But everybody knew he was advised by generals. There's generals that have said, if we pull out of Iraq, we're going to create an unstable nation, and it will fall into the hands of terrorists. It was well known. So all they had to do was listen to the generals and say, pull out of Iraq. Now, I really don't care that we pulled out of Iraq. I think it was a good move. But be prepared to deal with the consequences. Okay? Let them take a city and then just gas air bomb it. I'm okay with that. Kill all of them. Okay? If that's the way, if they want to play this little game, kill them.
Mm.
I don't really care. Go to bed now. Fucking kids. Anyway,
Well, I actually see Muslims actually pissing off a lot of people in the world, actually, from Japan to America to I don't know. I could actually see a rebellion against Muslims, actually.
even other Muslims are getting pissed off at Muslims.
Yeah.
You know, I
So
mean, it's
we shall, see. I mean, there's not one in our town where I live, and it's not really prevalent too much in the South, anyhow. So, we had a couple of hours from here. They kept vandalizing a mosque that was trying to be built. I don't know if it ever got built, actually, in Murfreesboro, I think it is, and it's on the news and everything. And I don't know. I can't. There's just some areas that are always going to be unfriendly.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. We've had problems with Muslims, and off and on throughout the history of this country. I mean,
Throughout
that's
the history of the world. I mean, look at the Christian Crusaders. I mean, it's been
Ah,
going on
it's-
for a long time.
well, it's not that the Christians were really, it's not like the kid.
No, I'm not saying they were great either, but I'm
Yeah.
saying there's always been, but that's religion in general. I mean, so who knows? They, I don't know. I heard something about Japan not being very Muslim friendly.
No, didn't they just make it illegal there to be Muslim or something like that? I think it was China, not Japan.
Probably
That made
China.
Well, I
it
heard
illegal to be a Muslim.
Japan as well. I heard something about Japan, but yeah, interesting. But yeah, I don't know. We shall see. You have a lot there in Virginia.
Of
Is there a big
Muslims?
population? Yeah.
Not where we live. I mean, we
Oh,
live like in Western Virginia. There's
Well, my friend lives in Michigan, and there's quite a big population.
yeah,
Certain
especially
areas there,
yeah,
and-
Dearborn. I mean, I can
Yeah.
I can tell you in New Jersey, if you go to Patterson, you drive through Patterson, you see the whatever they are, minarets. You see them
Yeah.
poking all around because like the highway is elevated, and you just see those all throughout the city. They're all over the place. So
Well, my biggest problem is, they don't really accept anybody else's religion if you're in their country, really, But, we have to have it shoved down our throats here. And, we're the appeasers, basically. And Europe's really, they're really going to be screwed if there's ever an issue because they're everywhere.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons why I admire Putin, because he says straight up, if your religion doesn't, if your culture doesn't, or if you aren't willing to come to our country and accept our culture and have it become a part of who you are, we don't want you. We don't want your religions. We don't want your languages. We want you to speak Russian. We want you to love Russia. And he's absolutely right. And you're right also, Brady,
agree
because
with
we make it too easy here, for people to stay in their own little bubble, I mean, go to any well, not an airport, that's not a good example, but I mean, just having to press one for English kind of says it all, I think.
Well, we're appeasers, and what did Churchill say about appeasers? An appeaser, somebody who feeds a crocodile hoping it will eat them last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it'll screw you over eventually, or, it'll come back to bite them. I mean,
our
I
country,
remember...
it's more based on like guilt and tolerance. Now we have all that stuff going on about, white privilege, and then there's male privilege, and then there's this privilege, and it's got all these different subsects now to make the average normal American feel guilty for being an average normal American and feeling they have to appease these other, more unfortunate groups.
Yeah, well, there's a few liberals that I know in Europe or England that I really dislike that I'd actually like to see being forced to, wear a burqa. So I'm okay with that. They, so yeah, it's kind of funny, that you get liberals that are so pro-Muslim when you think, a lot of times feminism and liberalism sort of go hand in hand. It's like, how can you accept that ideology? I mean, it's so contradictory. It's just, it amazes me.
You know what? You're absolutely right, and I often wonder the same thing. I mean, Sharia and all that goes with it should be anathema to most feminists, but instead they're talking it all. Oh, this is their religion. This is what's good for them. I mean, you've even had some people in Congress, some women in Congress, say that Sharia law wouldn't be a bad thing, in the United States. And I'm like, what? Where is this coming from? How do you justify that?
Yeah, I don't understand that, how you can declare yourself a feminist and then be okay with, women's rights being totally pretty much, non-existent. I mean, goats have more privileges.
You know what's really funny? I just watched this video the other day of a porn star of all people. She went on an epic rant, and I wish I still had the link, where she was calling out feminists for exactly that. She's like, you guys always talk about women's rights and anti-rape and whatever, and she's like, well, one of my co-workers, 3 men broke into her house, they raped her, they raped the husband, but she's a fellow porn star, and she's like, so where are the feminists? You're silent. You guys never speak up. When things happen, it's always about your victimhood, but you're not a victim of anything. And then when a real crime occurs, you don't say a word. And that was basically, what her rant was, and she's right.
Perhaps it's just another platform to run on, like the rest of the politicians do.
Well, it goes right in lines with I forget who that was, Miss Arizona or something like that. She was asked, like, about the rape culture, and she stated that she believes, now she's like a fourth degree black belt, and she said, well, being that I've been in martial arts or whatever, I believe that all girls should learn how to fight to defend themselves. And I think she said, something about also not drinking and losing control when you're out with other guys and stuff like that. The backlash that she received from feminists, they were like, that's disgusting, telling women to learn to defend themselves, and other ones were saying, well, maybe men should just stop raping women. And I mean, and it was just so apparent that they were like, you can't, how dare you say that women should take some accountability for their own lives and be able to handle themselves, because then you're no longer a victim. If I come up to Bree and I say, I'm going to squeeze your boobs and you're going to like it, and she says, no, I don't want you to do that, and I go, I'm going to do it anyway, and she kicks my ass, she's not really a victim anymore.
Nope.
There's no big story about the crazy EJ boob squeezer. It's just a little footnote. A guy tried to go squeeze a boob, got his ass kicked. Okay, over. And it just takes everything away from the whole feminist cause.
Yeah, but then guys will start taking their martial arts, and then it'll be just these big fucking fights in the middle of wherever. And I mean, there's always going to be rape, unfortunately. And perhaps self-defense classes, maybe you should get a gun or something. There's, other ways.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm definitely a supporter of that. I mean, personally, I find it very funny, and it's, I've seen memes about this, but it's absolutely the truth. You get women, the feminists will say, well, we have to have abortion because it's a woman's right to choose. It's a woman. You have to consider the woman's right. You know, but then they say a woman shouldn't be able to carry a gun to defend herself. It doesn't make sense. Oh,
Well, that's what I'm saying. The feminists are really not protecting women. Where are the feminists? Where are they for women's rights? I don't see it. So that's, goes back to, talking about with Sharia law and all that. I do not see women in this country up in arms about, are the ones who claim to be feminists up in arms about it. I actually see more conservative women who might be conservative Christians are more upset about it than, your classic liberal feminists. It's, amazes me. They just seem to be full of hate.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. And you know what a perfect example of that is the feminist who recently chose to have her child aborted upon learning that she was carrying a son. It's the most disgusting thing I have read, and I can't tell you how long. That you would kill the life within you, this life that you purposely decided to bring forth simply because the gender is wrong. Seriously? I mean, how
That
much
is
can you hate
disgusting.
men that you do that? But I mean, you got pregnant by a man, so again, it's another one of those things that don't make sense. These people have no souls.
That bitch that you're talking about should die.
Mm.
She should die.
Why can't we abort adults?
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
better.
yeah. I mean,
We
hey,
call
look,
that murder.
hey, look.
Yeah.
She had a later term abortion, and I don't, and that's the funny thing, and I know that I've mentioned this before. Um, when it gets to that point, when you're past that first trimester, that's a life. That is a life. It has a nervous system. It feels pain. You know.
It has a heartbeat at
The
9
heart
weeks.
starts beating after, thank you, Bree, exactly. It's murder right from the beginning. If you want to talk to me about abortion, I don't think that murder is a right of choice for anyone. I mean, pregnancy is a consequence of unprotected or irresponsible or whatever sex, and if you're not willing to take those consequences, then you don't belong engaging in those activities. And it's not like you can't give it up for adoption or something else either. There's never any reason to murder a child.
You know what, though? This is not a time when there is no birth control and women just, have to keep having one baby after another and they're forced into this. We have so many choices for birth control. Long term, you don't have to take a pill every day. There's so many choices. I mean, you can actually get sperm separated and, choose the gender of your child. There is really no reason, to even have an abortion, and unless there's cases, I guess, gray areas of rape, incest, those type things, but otherwise.
See, I don't agree
why?
with abortion in those cases either. To tell you the truth,
Well, I see
I
a gray area. I don't know if
right.
I could make an 11-year-old carry a baby. I don't know. I mean, if there was a rape, do you consider the morning after pill abortion?
Oh no, I have no problem with the morning after pill.
Yeah. Well, some people,
that's completely different. That keeps the egg from attaching.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
so it's not a viable life. You're taking care of the problem before it actually becomes viable. Once that egg is fertilized and attaches to the wall, that is a viable life, and you have no right, to choose to extinguish it or not.
I understand that, but I am a bit torn. I mean, girls are starting their periods earlier and earlier, and that's a whole nother subject. But I know if I can make a 10 or 11-year-old carry it. I don't know. To me, I'm going to honestly say that that's a gray area for me.
All right, fair enough. And I see where you're coming from on that, honestly, because were it my 10-year-old daughter, I would have to, at that point, weigh out whether or not it's dangerous for her to carry a child. You know what I mean? You're right. There'd be other factors that would come into play there with me trying to protect my child. But
they're already psychologically damaged if they were to undergo a trauma like that. How much more can you make them endure?
Well, I
but,
think I think
very
if my
difficult.
child was raped, I would definitely give them the morning after pill as a preventative the next day,
Well,
regardless.
if you
So
know though, what if you didn't know that it was? I mean, this is obviously a hypothetical, a
Yeah, what if,
family member or
yeah,
something, and they
fam-
kept it
yeah.
secret for 3 months. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
2 months or whatever. It's a really difficult area. I think that.
Yeah, see, I fall in the aspect of I just go off of the pain aspect because I can't. I can tell you. Look, I mean, there's lots of things that I mean, that don't necessarily. I I wouldn't sit there and go, okay, when it really is just a bunch of cells, I don't really care if you get an abortion at that point. But once that fetus can feel pain, and usually they say that's around 20 to 22 weeks is when they actually start reacting to some kind of stimuli, pain, that kind of stuff. Then it's hands off. In my, and
Well, yeah.
this isn't because of a religious thing,
And some of
obviously.
those pregnancies
all right, well,
like
let's
that.
take a look at a different angle then. Let's take a look at the emotional angle. I will tell you that in my personal experience, I've known quite a few women over the years who have had abortions, and I have never met a one who it has not haunted, who didn't regret it or just feel bad about it now. It's something that stays with them forever. These feminists, they want to make you believe, that you have a choice and this is what it is to be a woman, and they want to talk about misogyny, and they don't realize that they are the ones that are practicing misogyny by telling a woman, that she has a choice when it's not something that's a choice. You know what I mean? A woman's first instinct is to protect the child that's inside of her, to protect that child when it's outside of her. It goes against the very nature of a woman to tell her, oh no, you can kill it, it's okay. You know what I mean?
There's no doubt about.
Those are
There's
real women. Are feminists real women? Are people who want to kill babies women who are okay with that? Are they real women? I don't know.
Well, and that was going to be my point. My point was going to be pretty much that, which is feminists don't want women to be women. That's the whole point of feminism. They don't want
But
people to
these
be
are the
women.
people who are teaching our children in school. Okay, this is what our daughters are being taught.
Oh yeah. I love the fact that feminism has really just screwed so much stuff up. It's screwed up. I mean, I know we talked about this when we were doing the show over on Static Air, on one of our first episodes back, where we were talking about there was an author, and he had written something. He had done research and stuff, and it was about how guys don't want to have any relationship really with women. I mean, guys have really become they'd rather stay like home with their friends and play video games, and then just go watch porn and jerk off. And the guys that are having sex are just going and screwing just random girls because they don't want to have like a commitment. And a lot of guys don't even want to go and approach a girl because they're afraid they're going to be labeled as a stalker, or they're going to be labeled as a creep or something like that. So a lot of guys are just standing back and saying, screw this. And now you've got all these women that are saying, like, I can't get a date. And they're all upset. They can't get a date. It's funny, but that's all like feminism right there. I can't be, like, according to society's rules right now, which I say fuck you to, but I couldn't walk up to you and say, hey, your ass looks really nice in those jeans. Oh my God, I'm a pig, you know? But most guys want to be accepted socially. And so they'll just be like, hello, are you reading a very interesting book tonight?
That's actually very sexy, Jay. That actually turns me on.
What, my voice
Oh my God.
Yeah.
or talking? Oh, the voice, huh? All right.
No, boy.
All right. We don't live that far away from each other. I'm sure I could meet you and put on some.
Oh, great. So you'll have to talk like that the whole time.
Okay, I'll put on some like thick glasses, thick black glasses with some tape in the middle.
Scheduled pocket protector, please.
Oh hell yeah! I'll wear an extra size one. Yeah. Hello.
Okay, guys, you're creeping me out.
Hello, Bree.
A little nerd fetish. I always
Uh,
did have a thing for Tucker Carlson. Okay, my guilty pleasure.
so
They
so how the hell did we get on feminists anyway? I mean, it's
because it's just I mean it really is out there. I mean it's affecting our government, really, isn't it? I mean society in general, which you have to have a good, healthy society, which starts at home. Okay, it has to start in the home, on a small level or in your community or whatever, and then it spreads out. But if we have all these feminists and all this poison going on, who's you know, where are the healthy people and the healthy mindset coming from? And that spreads throughout, and that's why our government and our country's screwed up.
well, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. Who did it affect first? I think it affected poor black
Children?
women first.
Oh, black women again.
I think it was actually whether it was designed or whatever. I mean, or whether this was an unintended consequence. But if you look at it, I mean, because I can tell you, growing up, I always heard out of the mouths of black women, "I don't need no man. I can raise my children on my own." I heard that all the time. I heard it all the time. I didn't
Well,
hear
isn't that sort of a reaction to getting pregnant and getting left, maybe?
Well, yeah.
Is that
Well, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. But that attitude was fostered in one part by government welfare, right? Because they didn't need a man. They didn't need a man. Their man was the government. The man gave them the money, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
dude knocked him up, but the
But
man gave him the money.
that's not every poor black woman, though. But
I'm not saying every poor black woman. I'm just saying, look, there's exceptions to every rules. But and then that started to spread. Then you started having all sorts of women saying, "I don't need a man." And now you have, women are making more money. There's more women employed now than men. And that, and they're making more money and they have this attitude, "I don't need a man." You know? I'll tell you right now, my wife had that attitude for a while. She was like, "I don't need," she acted as though I didn't do anything. And I said, "Fine, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go away for 2 weeks. And you take care of the kids. Don't hire a babysitter though, because you can't afford that. I'm just going to go." She was like, "You can't do that. How am I going to take care of the kids? I have to work." I said, "Yes, because we have a inverted traditional family structure. I take care of the kids, which
a
enables
partnership.
which enables you to work." But she even bought into that bullshit. "I don't need a man." Bull crap. Even though you
Look,
make your
the laws of God and nature dictate that you take both a man and a woman to create a life. So it just kind of goes without say that the laws of man and nature, God and nature intend that, it's supposed to be a unit, just like Bree was saying earlier. It all starts in the home, which means you have a mother and a father in the home. Is everything that went on, like you said, with the poor black women in those communities, none of those kids had any male role models. And look at what's going on now. They're thugs, they're criminals, they're wearing their pants around their knees. For crying out loud. If they had a real man to tell them, how to dress, how to be a man, then this wouldn't be going on. And now it's just happening generation after generation. It's all about baby mama and baby daddy, and you don't see any type of strong family structure in those communities.
Well, and even just a little bit more to talk about, like what you're talking about, they don't have the role model to teach them how to dress, so they got that idea about the saggy pants from prison.
Yeah, because they
Exactly.
were not have belts, so they
Which you guys probably know that actually was what that was a symbol of. That was a symbol of who was willing to be a bitch in prison. If
Exactly.
you were willing to be a bitch, if you were looking, to be somebody's bitch, you'd wear your pants down around your ass. That was the sign. But
What's funny is all these people are walking around in white. There's guys walking around from, rich families, upper middle class, in their pants like that. Little do they know.
well, yeah. Look, people are idiots. People are idiots, and it's like you said earlier, Bree. We're gonna ride that ship down. We're all gonna pay the consequences for the majority of idiots. And um, just to get back to the FCC issue, um, okay, this is off National Review. Um, Two prominent House committee chairs are deeply disappointed in Federal Communications Commission Chairman Tom Wheeler for refusing to testify before Congress, quote, as the future of the Internet is at stake. Wheeler's refusal to go before the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday comes on the eve of the FCC's vote on new Internet regulations pertaining to net neutrality. The committee's chairman, Representative John Chaffetz, Republican from Utah, and Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Fred Upton from Michigan, a Republican as well, criticized Wheeler and the administration for lacking transparency on the issue. So long as the chairman continues to insist on secrecy, we will continue calling for more transparency and accountability at the commission. Chairman Wheeler and the FCC are not above Congress, although it seems as though they might be for now. Now, it's what about this? What about this transparency that we heard all about? Obama being transparent. We know it's all a crock of shit. This bill is like 300. I don't remember, 382, 372, something like that.
I think there's a page or something, page 300 and something that Obama doesn't even want anyone to read or something. I mean, there's stuff in there that
they're not even releasing it. They're not releasing it for review. They're not releasing any of it for review.
Even if they did it, who would read it? Not very many people.
Oh, they'd read 300-something pages. I mean, they got staffers that could bang through that. I mean, that was the big joke about Obamacare. They were like, even if they released it a couple days in advance, who's going to have time to read 2,000 pages? But 300-something pages, yeah, you could read that. And they don't want to release it. They don't want to release it because they know people aren't going to like it. Even like left-wing people. All right, okay, let me see. Where was this? I did see this somewhere. One second. Okay, so this is... basically what it's saying is even left-wing groups are starting to come out and say, hey, wait a second, this net neutrality is just going to go too far. It's ridiculous. This is the commission should use its title on just like EFF. What is it? Electronic Frontier Foundation, defending your rights in a digital world. I'll just kind of skim through this. Dear FCC, rethink the vague general conduct rule. For many months, EFF, which is Electronic Frontier Foundation, has been working with a broad coalition of advocates to persuade the Federal Communications Commission to adopt new open internet rules that would survive legal scrutiny and actually help protect the open internet. Our message has been clear from the beginning. The FCC has a role to play, but its role must be firmly bounded. 2 weeks ago, we learned that we had likely managed the first goal. The FCC is going to do the right thing and reclassify broadband as a telecommunications service, giving it the ability to make new, meaningful, open internet rules. But we are deeply concerned with the FCC's new rules, which will include a provision that sounds like a recipe for overreach and confusion, the so-called General Conduct Rule. According to the FCC's own fact sheet, the proposed rule will allow the FCC to review and presumably punish non-neutral practices that may harm consumers or edge providers. Late last week, as the window for public comment was closing, EFF filed a letter with the FCC urging it to clarify and sharply limit the scope of any general conduct provision. And quote, the commission should use its Title II authority is that me that's getting feedback there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not me, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm getting feedback from somebody.
Yeah, I hear that.
I'm
I think it's me.
gonna blame it on Michelle.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Nice.
All right, I don't think I hear it anymore. Authority should use its Title II authority to engage in light touch regulation, taking great care to adhere to clear, targeted, and transparent rules. A quote general conduct rule applied on a case by case basis, with the only touchstone being whether a given practice harms consumers or edge providers, may lead to years of expensive litigation to determine the meaning of harm for those who can afford to engage in it. What is worse, it could be abused by a future commission to target legitimate practices that offer significant benefits to the public. Accordingly, if the commission intends to adopt a general conduct rule, it should spell out in advance the contours and limits of that rule, and clarify that the rule should be applied only in specific circumstances. So, and it goes on, but obviously, okay, so this Electronic Frontier Foundation is obviously a little bit left leaning, right? Because they want the FCC to consider it a telecommunications service. They want the government to have some control, but even they are saying, not too much control. You guys are being a little bit vague, and we could see how things could possibly be going wrong with this. So, yeah, even when left wingers are like sitting there saying, "Hey, wait a second," it's just not good.
No, but it's you're not going to stop the speeding train. I mean, ever since post 9/11, it just seems like I know what Michelle says is right. There's been this power grab going on through the decades, but I think that just really opened it up post 9/11 because they used fear, didn't they? And fear always works.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah. So and once they're in there, then like I said, give an inch, you'll take a mile, and it's just going to keep going, and we're going to turn around and go, what the hell happened?
Yeah,
at least some of the things.
I mean, seriously, at some point, I'll be honest, I don't even see the point of the Second Amendment anymore. What's the point? If we're not going to use it, it's what it's for. It's for what we have now. It's for what we had prior.
But nobody is uncomfortable. They're still living in their houses. They still have their TV. They still have their car. They're being squeezed a little bit, but they haven't been squeezed to the point where they're going to snap. And like I said, when that actually does happen, that's when you're going to see them turn into animals. You're going to see rioting and a whole lot of other things going on too.
I don't even. And I usually do subscribe from that to that same perspective, but I don't know if I can truly subscribe to it anymore, because our founders, the people that had the revolution, that laid everything on the line, they were actually better off than us. They weren't taxed.
Absolutely.
They were not taxed nearly as much. Their taxes amounted to what? I mean, 4%?
Our taxes were war taxes that never got removed. They just stuck.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and okay, so they had to quarter troops. They didn't, the British could come and kick down their door as they please. Well, fucking A, they can do that now. The British don't do it, our SWAT teams do.
Depends what they look like. No, I'm kidding. But
They take your stuff. Okay, for example, a guy, I think this was Indiana, could be wrong on the state, but a guy, or it was a family, they were not accused of any crime. Once again, I mean, we've talked about civil asset forfeiture. Okay, civil asset forfeiture, you don't have to be convicted of a crime. You don't even have to be charged with a crime. They can just relate a crime that you're associated with, even if you have nothing to do with it. It may have happened on on the sidewalk in the front of your house. And they can go ahead and take your assets. They can seize your house. They can seize money. So they seized money and property from this one family, and the chief of
under
police.
the RICO law?
No, not RICO. No,
Oh,
it's not
oh.
RICO. I don't believe this is RICO. This is just a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it may actually be under RICO. It may be part of the RICO law. RICO tends to be something for prosecuting, organized crime. But it may be part of the RICO Act. But I know it's
Anything that is suspected of making money that is related to any type crime can fall under that. It doesn't matter if it's
yeah. But
organized or
but
not.
here's the thing: in criminal asset forfeiture, the person has to actually be found guilty, and those things that
Mm.
they have to be either shown, be able to prove that they were either purchased with the ill-begotten money or that they aided in the crime. Okay, so
So
like
they seized these people's property and assets before they were.
they're never charged with anything,
Oh,
Bree.
they were never charged with anything.
They're never charged with
Yeah.
anything.
Well,
Okay,
that's scary.
so this police department seized this family's they seized money and property from them, and the chief of police lost all the money gambling.
Oh, so they sold it and they took it as what evidence? Potential evidence?
No, they don't take it as no, Bree. They take it for themselves. Okay,
Oh, I know that, but under the false pretense that it's, or did they just, because that's the stealing, isn't it?
they actually don't even really give a false pretense. Really, we actually went over this, and maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't get to listen to the show that we did with Pete. We actually went really into civil asset forfeiture. One of the examples I was giving was this family that had they had a hotel. This was, I think, in New York or Massachusetts. They had a hotel, like a motel or something. That had been in the family. His dad had built it, had started it up. He inherited it. It was totally paid for. It was worth probably $1.5 million. Now, there had been a couple of arrests over the past 8 or so years at that hotel. Some of which was like drugs, involving drugs. Like, there was a party going on. The cops came. There was people doing drugs. They arrested them. Never was it shown that the owners or any of their employees were actually involved with this. I mean, it was just people, just random people that rented their room.
Well,
Well,
they'll
what?
say that they'll try and say that they knew it was going on.
Well, they didn't even try to do that. They didn't even
No.
try to do that. They just got a letter in the mail saying, the guy and his wife got a letter in the mail saying, we're seizing your property because there has been crimes in relation to your property. They didn't even try to say, they don't even have
Yeah.
to try to
It's just
say
that we're
anything.
seizing your property because we can and it's valuable.
Bree, how many kids you have? 6, right?
Yes.
How many live at home?
I have 4, well, 5, including my son's girlfriend.
5, including your son's girlfriend. So there might be a possibility that at some point in your life, one of your kids might be involved with some type of illegal substance. Correct?
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. You don't control your children. I mean, you can try, but they're their own people. And let's say all of a sudden they find out that Bree
There's a
June
meth lab in my garage.
Bree Juniorette. No, not a meth lab. No, Bree Juniorette gets you find out that maybe Bree Juniorette has been dealing drugs, and the police come and or maybe she's doing some drugs on your out in the front yard, and the cop drives by, boom, catches her. They can now seize your property.
Wow.
They can seize your property, and you have to go to court to prove that they are wrong. They don't have to. There's no criminal process with this. They take your daughter, they arrest her. Now there's something tying your property with. Now the thing is, they won't do it unless you actually at least own 80% of the property. Then they'll move on it. If you like have a mortgage and you've only been there 5 years, you're safe. They don't want it because it's not worth anything.
Mm.
They only take it if you actually own 80% or more. They have a formula. And so now the feds work with them, and the feds take, I think, a 10% cut, and they 10 or 20% cut, and they give the rest back to the police department. Now, the police department then could either go and get new equipment, or some of them have just bought, like, paid for vacations or paid for conferences in which it's just basically a vacation for them. And they do all sorts of different stuff, and they joke about it. They've asked them, well, what do you do? They said, well, pretty much, hey, if we kind of just think we kind of would like to have something, we just buy it. There you go. That is civil asset forfeiture. There's no guilt involved. No guilt involved. And usually they get away with it because usually the people don't have the money to fight it.
Well, I mean, they're just going to encourage people to, protect their homes. Are people,
Yeah.
where, police can't see
Yeah,
what's going on in there, but then you've got drones now and all this stuff.
Well,
So who knows?
because what Pete and I suggested, and this is just a possible suggestion of different things,
Commune?
but no. If let's say you've worked all your life trying to buy your house and paying off your house, and then because of some bullshit like this, the police go and take your property. Well, technically, they're trying to ruin your life. And pretty much, let's say you don't have the money for an attorney. So you're either going to have to forfeit it and lose it so they can do whatever they want. Now, would it not justify you going and maybe burning down the house of every cop involved?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's your house.
I think it totally. Hey, you want to take everything I've worked for? Well, what's fair is fair.
Accidents happen. But,
Accidents happen.
I mean, if that home is insured, and would the insurance money not end up?
Oh, that's a good point. Then maybe then every cop involved with stealing your property should be shot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't heard too much of that going on around here, but I don't know. But like I said, it's a rural area, so.
So my basic point was, and I know we kind of got a little off topic, which never happens on this show.
Never.
My basic point on that is, the British treated the American people, treated the colonists better than our own government does us. They had it much better off than we did. I mean, hell, think about it. Just on the simple fact that it was like, yes, you had representatives here, but I mean, really, if you did something wrong or something, you could always pick up and move, and they'd never find you. They had it so much better.
That's not going to happen now. So.
No, they'll know exactly where you are. But so the British were much better the British were better to the colonists, but they still revolted. They still laid everything on the line. So I don't know if it's that we're not. I don't know. That's why Michelle, I can no longer agree. Although I used to agree with you, I can no longer agree with people aren't uncomfortable enough. Now, if you say they're apathetic, slovenly, lazy pieces of shit that are nothing but a bunch of cowards, then I'm on board with you.
Oh, no, I agree with that statement as well. I think it's a little bit of both. I think you have, your zombies, and then you have your, like you said.
I think you will have holdouts. I think in the city, in the bigger cities, okay, you can say pretty much out east and out west, pretty much. But I think you will have more revolt, more holdouts in rural areas and areas where more people have guns and, smaller towns and things. I mean, the people in the big cities are screwed.
Agreed.
Well, really, we're all screwed. We're all screwed. Why do you think that?
Yeah, they're screwed at a faster rate. It takes longer, and there'll be more resistance in these areas. In certain areas, not that we're not going to get it in the end. It's just going to take longer to get that power in a rural area because it's harder to get under control. People are spread out. People are,
and they're prepping. They're prepping. They have ammunition. You know, they're setting up their homes. They're homesteading. They're living off the grid, and you know what I mean. So people are already getting ready for this. I mean, there is a select number of people.
He's going to be screwed at a slower rate.
I don't know. I think that with the forming of the militias that have been going on throughout the country, I think we stand a pretty good fighting chance.
Well, militias wouldn't have gotten a bad name, actually. I think people would have signed on to more of the militia thing if people like Timothy McVeigh and people didn't give it a bad name. I think they kind of ruined it.
You know what? Hold on a second, Bray.
Okay.
The truth is that wasn't because of Timothy McVeigh. That was, and I'm not going to say, well, Timothy McVeigh didn't do it. I don't know if he did it or it didn't. I don't really give a crap at this point. The fact is that Timothy McVeigh was involved with a militia group. He was told to leave. He didn't. He was actually kicked out of a militia group because he was nuts. Now, the media didn't address that at all. The media kept talking about the militia groups. Oh, he was a militia.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They used him for the.
But that's the thing. But that's the thing. It wasn't because of Timothy McVeigh, and it wasn't because of the militia groups. It was because of the media. The media wanted to paint it in a bad light, so they did, what they always do, which is yellow journalism.
Their poster child. Timothy McVeigh was their poster child.
Yeah, even though he wasn't even part of it. I mean, it's hell, look.
How many people know that? Not many.
Because the media didn't report it. That's why.
Yeah.
They could have just said this was a lone wolf type of guy, which he pretty much was. With it was him and the other guy working together. They could have just left it at that, but instead they said a militia member and his cohort, and they kept pushing that militia. So now, of course, of course, you need to push that agenda if you're part of the 1%, right? Because you don't want anybody with guns organizing. You don't want them to. You want them to feel ashamed, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm even considering joining a militia. Because they're all crazy.
But things are so bad in this country that a lot of people actually have. In the wake of McVeigh, what is it now, 21 years later? I would say that the militia movement is one of the fastest moving just in the last 6 years alone. People are organizing, they're prepping, they're arming, and they're working together because they know something's coming and they don't want to be caught with their proverbial.
True, but you know what they're doing?
They're being made fun of, though. They're really being downplayed.
Let's see who's laughing when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, but Bree is right. They are being laughed at, and two, I have no problem saying, yeah, look, I'm a prepper. I have no problem saying it, and I've gotten weird looks, but I like to be on the offensive. I think you guys know that. I like to be on the defensive. So as soon as somebody looks at me with a weird look, I just say, that look you just gave me? That's exactly how I think of you, because I think you're a fucking idiot. Because anything could happen and you aren't prepared. And when you're dead and I'm alive and your kids are starved to death, my kids are going to be healthy. I'm going to have a very satisfied look on my face. You'll have a grinning skull. That's it.
Well, they think the government will come to their rescue and FEMA and the Red Cross and all that stuff. Well, that is what they think.
Hey, look, more power to them. But there's another key factor. Okay, you're right, Michelle. People are prepping. People are prepping, and they're getting ready, and they're stocking up on the ammunition and all this stuff. But they're doing it individually, or just with like a friend or a family member.
Yeah.
They're not doing it in militias. Most people still aren't joining a militia. They're afraid of the stigma.
Yeah, that's my point.
I
So,
don't know if I agree with that, but I guess it'll remain to be seen.
well, militias. Okay, let's just look at the facts. The fact is, yes, militias have grown in size and number over the past, definitely over the past 6 years. They have definitely grown in size and number. At the same time, you've seen show after show about survivalists and zombie apocalypse and ultimate survival and this and that and the other thing. Okay, you've seen those crop up everywhere. You have approximately 3 million preppers in this country. 2 or 3, whatever. Okay. You've got multiple millions of preppers in this country. Very few of them have joined a militia. But that number of the number of preppers and people that are becoming more aware of things and not trusting the government has increased, I don't know, tenfold. I mean,
For
it's,
sure.
and it absolutely should have. But you still don't have a lot of people organizing in militias. Comparatively speaking, the number of militias and how they have grown is tiny in comparison to the amount of people that are saying, what the fuck is going on with our government?
Oh no, I'll accept that absolutely, but I also think that what you're going to find is when this shit does hit the fan, that all of these individual preppers are going to start banding together because there's going to be more value in banding into smaller
How are they
communities.
going to connect after this whole net thing goes down? They're going to jam up all the internet and everything, and no information is going to get through anything. So I don't know how. Once the shit hits the fan, I mean, communication is going to be very hard. So I think these networks or groups have to be in place before the shit hits the fan.
Gosh, I can talk to the guy in the boat next to me and the boat next to that and the boat next to that without needing the internet. You know what I mean? I mean, necessarily these groups that are going to form together are going to be within their own local communities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, but at a certain point, unless these things are in place beforehand, where people are like, okay, if this goes down, I'm going to take care of this. You're going to be taking care of that. If that's not in place, it's going to be like dog eat dog.
Well, I think it's going to be like dog eat dog in the cities, but I think that, a lot of preppers have the same thoughts on their mind. They have to be able to barter. What do they have of value that they're going to be able to trade to somebody else that they need and that sort of thing. The mentality through most of the preppers are the same. I think that we all understand that eventually, we're going to have to be dealing with each other in a lot of different ways, not just a matter of barter, but again, banding together in small communities, like you said, especially in the rural areas where you're trying to hold, your property up against, the government or whomever might be coming to take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's strength in numbers.
It just depends on the severity of what actually goes down. I mean, look at the hurricane. What was the last big one that hit the East Coast? Was it
The Northeast?
Northeast, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Sandy.
mean, Jesus. It's,
I lived in the Northeast when that hit. We didn't have power for like over a week. And you know
and
what?
what was that?
I was fine. But it was you couldn't get gas. I mean, there was the gas stations because New York and New Jersey lost all the power, and they couldn't get gas. So they were coming out to Pennsylvania, and the lines were like just backed up. The lines were down the street just to get gas. You know,
It's like 3 hours and everything's gone. I think that's
Oh,
the time frame. 3 hours and it's gone.
everything was gone. Everything was gone. I mean, I didn't even bother going to Walmart or the grocery store because I knew everything would be gone. I did hear from other people. They were like, "Yeah, you can't get anything right now. Everything's gone." I went to like downtown. Actually, got power back very quickly. So, like about 12 hours after the storm hit, I went with my son to just go get something to eat, and so we went downtown, and across the street there was a gas station, and a fight was breaking out. Two guys were getting in a fight over who was first in the gas line or whatever. And there was already a line of cars coming out. Now these idiots knew that there was going to be this big hurricane coming. They knew it was coming, and they still didn't prepare for it. And so they subsequently got in a fist fight. And I just pointed at them. I said, Gage, I was like, don't worry about this. I was like, this isn't going to happen with us because we're prepared. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't worried, and we did fine. But so many people were freezing. They were freezing. We don't have. They didn't have food. They had to like, the schools. They had to convert they had to like run schedules for people to go and get showers at schools. You know,
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just. I mean, they
Well,
had
can you imagine that on a nationwide scale?
nationwide
Can you
scale.
imagine?
It wouldn't work. It would be over. It would be
Yeah.
over. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
and
know.
people.
I mean,
Hey,
when Wilma hit here, it was a completely different scenario. It's not like, Katrina or Sandy or different things like that. In the Keys, everybody pulled together, everybody worked together. If somebody had and somebody didn't have, everybody shared, and that's just how it was here. There was
but
no
but
looting or,
but here's
That's
but
because they know they're going to get more when everything is restored. But what
exactly.
happens? Yeah.
That was
but
what I was
mean,
gonna
we
say.
kicked FEMA out of here, during Wilma. We said, no thanks, go away. And, Key West handled their problem themselves.
Yeah, and but if things were not okay, but that's a local community. Okay,
Right.
you guys don't have enough. I don't think you guys could go and fish enough food to support everybody that's on the island. Correct? I mean, you
Of
need
course we could.
really you have enough fish that you could feed everybody, and you guys
Well,
all
we live on the ocean, and there's tons of commercial fishing boats, and
okay.
our own boats, and just whatever. Yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe
it was
so.
only for about 5 days that we were without power, and it took like 4 days before the waters went back.
Now, I mean, you're not that far. I mean, you could still get, other kind of supplies from the mainland and stuff. But what if there wasn't? What if the rest of the country was tits up?
Well,
I don't think everybody be all kumbaya.
Now,
They
no
might
one's
be
going
for a
to be
little bit.
neighborly because we're going to freak out that there's not going to be any more, and we're going to start hoarding. And we're not. You might look after each other for a day or two, but once people got wind that this could be much,
Long term, yeah.
weeks, months, then you're going to have a whole change of heart. I mean, it's going to be dog eat dog. Are you going to feed your neighbor and let your own kids starve?
No,
You know what I
No,
mean?
of course not.
That's
no, I'm
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
I'm gonna kill my neighbor and feed my kids with them.
That's
Exactly. Well,
horrible.
you know what? It could come to that. I mean, people don't look at nature. I mean, look at nature. Look at the animal kingdom. Look at, natural disasters. Everything's there to sort of teach us how to prepare and look after ourselves, but nobody does it because we're so dependent on,
Yep.
what we have now.
So speaking about struggles, did anybody hear about Michelle's the Wookiees' latest comment?
No.
Okay, so so recently Miss Obama was holding a photo op at the White House for a group of students, and she started giving a speech to all these kids, and so she said. And then when you're struggling, right? That's all we talk about is struggling, right? When you are struggling, because you will, all of us do, we still do, Obama said with a chuckle. Okay, and and I'm just reading this from this one article. It's from Downtrend. And it goes on to say, wow, who knew Michelle had so many struggles? Not only has she struggled in the past, but she also still struggles today. I did a little research because I was interested in the obstacles she faced and overcame. Michelle went to a prestigious magnet high school and graduated with honors and as the class salutatorian. She then went to Princeton and graduated cum laude with a BA in sociology. From there, she got a JD from Harvard Law School. Straight out of college, Michelle landed a job with the Sidley Austin law firm. She would go on to work as the associate to the mayor of Chicago and the dean of students at the University of Chicago. Somewhere along the line, she met this guy that didn't have a real job but married him anyway. Despite this dude's complete lack of credentials, he was elected president of the United States twice. She now divides her time between making children unhappy and taking lavish vacations on the taxpayer's dime. So it said, so what advice did Michelle Obama give to the students after complaining of her struggles? She told them to basically shut up and go to whatever shitty school that serves them. Her quote was, go to the bad school that you have.
They, well,
Wow.
I mean, I'm not shocked.
Yeah. Oh, she's a complete elitist piece of crap.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
So I just figure I'd leave that with you guys. It's past the hour.
Bedtime.
Yes, and I have to check how this feed went. I think it might have gotten screwed up the first like 45 minutes, but I don't know. I'm gonna check
So we're
it.
just talking to each other for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it might have been that, or it might have actually been me just talking, and I was talking with you guys, but I don't know if you guys were broadcasting it first. I gotta
It
check that.
sounds like you're talking to yourself.
So it's gonna totally sound like I was talking to myself for 45 fucking minutes. I think. I don't.
All right, well-
I'm not sure. So, but
Well, let me know.
this is still a work in progress, as you know. So it's
Yeah.
hopefully I'll get it right one of these fucking days. So,
All right.
hey Michelle, when do you want to have your little test run show?
What do you mean?
Well, for the what you were saying about your.
Oh yeah. Well, I gave him the link so that he could listen tonight. I mean, hopefully, he didn't just hear you talking to yourself.
You might want to let him know that there might have been a glitch, that I'm just
Yeah, I'll
new to
see
this.
him down at the restaurant. So.
All right, sounds good. All right,
Yeah, we have a
cool.
radio station in the restaurant that I work in.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely cool. You didn't explain
yeah.
that. Yeah, you told me something about there was a radio station there that you were talking with. I didn't know it was in the restaurant you worked at.
Yeah, actually, one of the guys that's investing in the restaurant is an owner of a local radio station. So he has went ahead and headquartered the station inside the restaurant. It's pretty cool because you have all kinds of live broadcasts and stuff that are going on right there in the middle. The dive bar that I work in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
All right, ladies. Thank you for
Night,
joining.
Michelle.
Good night, Bree. It's always a pleasure.
And
You too.
I will talk to you fine ladies later. And for the rest of you, adios, you chicken plucking
Good
little
night.
stinkers.